As most of you may know, natural law got to be developed over a couple centuries through the Stoics and Roman legal tradition and so forth. But by the time it comes to St. Thomas, he boils it down and crystallizes it very, very much in a very neat way. That's the primary precept of the natural law, as he says. Then there's secondary precepts. And they reach out through all of creation, and they are present in our hearts by nature. These are seeds of love that we can cultivate, be aware of, chew, see how good they are. Okay? They're going to look good to us to help. They're going to look better to us the healthier we are on the inside. Okay? The first precept the secondary precept is self-preservation. You and I love to take care of ourselves. We get ourselves food. We dress warmly. I put my thick socks on today. I didn't know how cold it was going to be. Okay. We dry ourselves off so we don't get cold. We sleep in a warm enough place and all these sort of things. Self-preservation is a pretty high thing. And we know inside the church that we have this right to defend ourselves, defend our own lives. And this can develop into larger and larger things about keeping ourselves. As a matter of fact, one of the basic commandments is love your neighbor as yourself, right? So self-love is pretty basic to being a Christian. Okay, it's a fundamental kind of thing, or else we can't love one another. Anyhow, self-preservation is the first one. And Thomas would say, this we share with everything. We share with everything in the universe. Even a rock tends to hold itself together. Okay? And an earthworm will get out of trouble by doing its earthworm thing and so forth. And I'm watching more and more nature films lately. All the kind of things that animals do, even the simplest things, have some kind of... they think that locomotion started with something, the ancestor of the jellyfish. Okay, so that kind of movement that a jellyfish has was probably the first kind of locomotion that was present among living things on the face of the earth. The second part of the second precept is family life. Family life. Now, family life here is we are made male and female, joined together, and we bring forth children. And it's not just getting the children started, of course. For every kind of animal, so to speak, and this is something we share with all kinds of animate things. We have to raise our offspring, get them to the point where they can go out on their own and make their own families. This is a critical skill for us. It involves education, and more in the 20th century it means keeping your kids in the spare room in the house till they're 35, right? Okay, but anyhow, this is something that and basically he'll call this procreation and so forth. And you see this is shared even with plant life and so forth. There's an ability to, if you will, restock the shells, continue the species and so forth in everything that's living. So this is shared with the inanimate and animate, and this comes from the animate realm. Okay, animate meaning living. Okay, am I making sense? Am I making sense? Then finally, it's our turn in a big way. Let me step back here for a second. Now, most of our perspective of family life is going to turn on whether we had a good family life or not. Okay, is it good to have children? Did you have a good time being a kid? Okay, like if that was a horrible time, it's not. It's probably going to click less for most of us than it will. But basically, at heart, St. Thomas is saying, with these first two things, it is good for us to love and preserve our lives. Okay? It is good for us to love and preserve our lives. And when you and I reach inside, we know our whole desire, our whole thirst for happiness is a kind of, God, I want to live. God, I want to thrive. God, I want to enjoy the full realm of being alive and so forth. Okay? Likewise, our hearts are going to cry out. And this is something I'm even more aware of as a celibate as I grow older. Our hearts are going to cry out for family life. Okay? I want a companion for my entire life. And I want to, have that joy of sharing my life with my children and grandchildren and so forth, and have that larger structure of people around and so forth that are, near to kin and so forth down the line. That this is part of the vision that our hearts hold for things going well. For things going well. Now, the next thing comes to us as persons as rational. Okay? I used to call this with the kids, we have God detectors. Okay? Our minds are really something that can be aware of God and other people. Now, inside of our minds, there's two kind of quests that go on. One is for truth. One is for truth. And ultimately, if truth is perfected by knowing causes, ultimately, as St. Thomas would say, ultimately it's knowing God. I want to know the big reason for all this wonderful existence, wonderful goodness around me. Okay? And this gets even deeper inside the church's life. The next thing is what we want to have with each other is community and friendship. Community and friendship. So all the things that work together for building community life, like justice, you can see those things take shape as Aristotle mentions inside of his Nicomachean Ethics. That justice really sets up the place where we can be friends with one another, doesn't it? Okay, you can't be friends with somebody you're doing injustice to, or they're doing injustice to you. So justice sets the possibility for friendship and companionship up to the max. So these are the things that are ours by being persons. That are ours by being persons. And basically all of Catholic teaching, which is going to be this whole swath of this, is preserving all of these things in society for ourselves and others. Okay? So in a way, if you and I foster these things well, you and I are well down the track about having and knowing what social justice is about.